The Arab uprisings are a regional phenomenon, right? It's inescapable that these are transnational uprisings. They draw on trends like Islamism, trends like Arab nationalism that cross borders and boundaries. And we also know that politics in the Arab world is to a large part a function of the Arab world's relationship to the United States and the Arab world's relationship to Israel. These things cannot be disentangled from each other. And one of the things we're seeing now is simply the restarting of a motor that had been turned off for 40 years, and that motor is Arab politics. Arab politics simply didn't take place, and now it is restarted. Egypt believes it has a natural place as the center of gravity for Arab politics, and historically it has been an engine both of culture and political thought. It's going to take years for this to settle out. We have to find out what happens in Syria. We have to find out what, if anything, will happen in Saudi Arabia. We have to find out where America's interests will land in the region, where it will be pressuring allies and where it will be helping them. And all that is also going to be shaped against what happens between Israel and its Arab neighbors. It has to be recognized that the public in Egypt detests Israel and never supported the peace treaty. So whatever the next chapter is, it's going to be one in which Egypt chafes at any collaboration or cooperation it engages in with Israel. It will not be a willing coalition partner with Israel, for example, in a war against Hamas. It might certainly not go to war with Israel, but nor will it be the kind of reliable ally that Israel had been able to count on in Hosni Mubarak. And that phenomenon is going to be repeated across the region. We can expect that in Syria as well, which for all its cruelty as a regime, has been quite a stable presence on Israel's border. It's been one of the quietest borders for Israel since the 1973 war. And all that will change. Regardless of whatever position the White House takes on events in Egypt have tended to and continue to just take their own course. They're the result of their own internal dynamics. So one thing the White House is learning is to keep an arm's length from the day-to-day political developments in Egypt, whether it's the staffing decisions in the general command of the Egyptian military or who's being picked as the minister in a new government. It has learned that even if it has a preference, it can't really do anything about it. So better to be quiet. Egypt and the United States have a lot of common interests, and Egypt, under the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood, still has a lot of common interests with Egypt, and dare I say it, to some extent with Israel as well. The U.S. and Egypt both want a continuing tight military-to-military cooperation. They still want a free flow of goods and military traffic through the Suez Canal, and they still want to work together on intelligence matters because the Muslim Brotherhood is just as threatened by jihadi Salafi militancy as the West is. I mean, that's a threat from their right flank as well. So there's a lot of shared interest, a lot of room for cooperation. Now, there are also a lot of huge points of difference, and some of these are no different than they were under the Mubarak regime. Human rights, minority rights, political freedom. These were sore spots under Mubarak's dictatorship, and we've learned in the last month they're going to be sore spots under a democratically elected Muslim Brotherhood government as well. I've spent the last year and a half working on a book about the revolutionary youth activists who were behind the Tahrir movement. What I've found in that year and a half as I followed them is a really fractious disarray within the idealistic community of youth that sparked the uprising in the first place. This was a group of dreamers who came from communist backgrounds, socialist backgrounds, and many from the Muslim Brotherhood, surprisingly. And they came together around a really radical idea of building an Egypt around their own interpretation of a plural, fair, and free society. Those dreams of inventing a new Arab politics in Egypt that would then spread throughout the region. I'd have to say, to be fair, that it's not completely doomed or completely dead, but it's on life support. I mean, in Egypt, where Mohamed Morsi is struggling for power with the military establishment and perhaps winning, and where authoritarian practices are once again the accepted norm, the principles and ideals of the revolutionary youth of Tahrir Square remain in abeyance.